Dead Man's Island.
What's that?
Dead men tell no tales, but I'm only dead to my family. So I've got a tale for you. Much like the people that this island was named after, it is no longer there. What I'm talking about is El Morro, or as it came to be known, Isla de los Muertos. Bats. I'm a bat. Oh, yes. This island's no good to me, Dad. This was an island just off the coast of San Pedro. It was 800 feet long, 200 feet wide, with a peak that reached up to 60 feet with this arch, an arcade, through the stone. That itself kind of became iconic. In all, it covered about a half acre that you would actually be able to walk to from San Pedro during low tide. Jesus is only during high tide. Before this place became known as the Island of the Dead, supposedly it had been used by the natives as a burial ground, with the first of these burials being that of Chief Blackhawk, who was the last male survivor of the tribe of San Nicolas Island, the Nicoleños.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's the...
Island of the Blue Dolphin
Dolphins.
People.
Yeah.
The Blue Dolphin people.
Yeah.
But yeah, the last male was supposedly buried there, and the rest were absorbed or killed by the
mass
mission.
grave. Okay.
It was made out of dead bodies, but he was buried inside of it.
That's how important he was.
The name was given to it, according to one story, in 1810 when some Mexican fishermen found the body of a dead gringo on it. And this pinche gringo, he was most likely a smuggler who had fallen overboard from a ship, and for whatever reason, he was too weak to walk from the island into San Pedro during low tide.
If I know gringos, that sounds about right.
I'm not walking there.
Where's my chauffeur?
Where's the train?
Where's the rickshaw?
So he just died there. I would rather die. And die he did. From then on, it started being called the Island of the Corpse, but as more bodies started piling up there, it morphed into the Island of the Dead. Richard Dana of Dana Point wrote about the island in his book 2 years before the mast, where he told the story of a brutal sea captain who mysteriously died after ingesting a dose of poison, and then his corpse was rushed onto the island and it was buried on top of its hill without any ceremony. Many years later, as the island started eroding, in 1901, some kids were fishing there and found his exposed skeleton that had a rope tied around its head and ribs.
Dana Point?
No, not Dana. Come on. At least pretend to be on Dead Man's Island. They found his corpse, if you could call it, his skeleton with a rope tied around its head and ribs, confirming that it was either a mutiny situation or he was, in fact, a life-size marionette. And from then on came the burials of 6 Marines from the USS Savannah who died during the Battle of Dominguez Ranch, aka the Battle of the Old Woman's Gun, in October 1846. That was during the Mexican-American War. Also, another English sea captain, 5 crew members of a ship called the Mervine. She's beautiful. What's her name? Mervine.
You sure you don't want to go with Maria?
No. This is the name of the love of my life. Mervine. Several crew members from a British ship called the Boxer, who had a disease outbreak while docked in San Pedro, were buried there.
Cool, stay over there.
2 passengers from a Panama ship in 1851, and then a Mrs. Parker in 1855, who was the wife of Captain Parker of the Laura Bevan, another
beautiful
part
name.
of the same fleet as the Mervine. The reason this became the burial ground of choice in San Pedro is because it was too hard for coyotes to get to do what they do best, which is dig up and eat your loved ones.
How bad are coyotes in San Pedro?
There was like one thing to eat in all of San Pedro, and the coyotes had nothing, and they were just eating the corpses.
You gotta give them credit.
You gotta respect someone who's willing to fight for your meal. Other than being a good place to let the loves of your life rot in peace, it was also used for more living purposes.
How?
On July 4th, 1853, it was the site of the first joint celebration of American independence by both Americans and Californios.
Okay.
That's where they celebrated on top of all these corpses.
Low tide fun.
In the 1860s, it was a whaling station run by a Captain Hart. Where's the beef? That's a Captain Beefheart joke. Let it sink in.
It hurts. I want it to stop.
Just let it sink in.
I want it to stop.
Dad joke. It was rumored to have been a rum runner's base during Prohibition and also supposedly had buried treasure on it, but more than that, it was just a local landmark. Like, it was every picture you'll see of old San Pedro, it's always there in the background. It was also a location for the 1916 Harold Lloyd movie Lonesome Luke's Wild Women, which is the only known video footage of this place.
Oh, wow.
But it did make one huge contribution to the city of Los Angeles that it should always be remembered for. In 1871, they built a rock jetty connecting it to its sister island nearby, Isla del Calubra de Cascabel, aka Rattlesnake Island.
Oh boy.
Rattler Rock. The purpose of this rock jetty was to turn
The
the
stupid name.
rock jetty, man.
Rock jetty.
It was to turn the island into a breakwater,
Okay.
and then they added a second jetty connecting it to Tim's Landing, which was in San Pedro, which created an ocean current that removed all the sand and mud from the ocean floor over there, which made the water deeper there so that shipping boats could come dock in San Pedro, allowing San Pedro to become the main port of Los
Wow.
Angeles and allow Santa Monica to remain a nice place to go to Barney's Beanery. So Dead Man's Island found its purpose in the growing city, but oh no, water's a murderer of islands.
No, don't say that.
I'm saying it, and I'll say it again. The new wave.
True crime stuff.
This is the newest season of Serial.
No.
Who killed Dead Man's Island? It was you and me. The new wave was hitting it.
As it got all of us.
Depeche Mode, they took it down one rockin' synth solo at a time. The new waves hitting it were slowly eroding it and leading to kids uncovering murdered old ship captains and stuff like that. Plus, it was a danger to ships coming in. It stretched out so far into the bay that it could potentially crash a ship. It was also creating a bottleneck, and they needed more space as more ships started coming in there. So how did they repay the island for making shipping there possible? By demolishing it and turning it into the first floating parking lot. No, don't you be gullible tonight.
I wanted that to be true so badly.
No, it's not true. Nothing's true that I'm saying. In 1916, the U.S. War Department gave up the control they had over the island for 60 years and gave it to the Department of the Treasury, who wanted to flatten it and turn it into a sort of Ellis Island-like immigration station.
Oh, wow.
But like I said, it was just more efficient to get rid of it, so they began that process in 1927. It took 8 dredgers, a steam shovel,
How to get rid of an island?
8 dredgers,
And a steam
a
shovel.
steam shovel,
Yeah.
20 train cars of dynamite, and 2 years. That's all it takes. Not without the island claiming a couple more delicious souls.
Get 'em.
2 workers were killed in the process on that island. By this point, the idea that there were dead people buried there was just like a local myth. But once they started digging, oh boy, here come the corpses. It was dem bones. Whatever ones they found were moved, including the old U.S. Marines who were moved to the Presidio in San Francisco. The rest were just thrown across the water to the Harborview Cemetery,
Awesome.
eaten by coyotes shortly after. The dirt of the land was added as an extension onto its sister island of the Rattlesnakes, or as you may now know it, Terminal Island. So the place where the prison, Coast Guard, and Customs House now stand is on the dirt of the dead man and is now known as Reservation Point.
Wow.
A reservation I will not be making. So the end tip of Terminal Island is
The remains of...
the remains of Dead Man's Island.
Yeah, the dead man's remains.
Yeah.
Yeah.